Okay, Gump Report. You see the title. I could not believe what I read because, as I said, I was looking for information for NoDQ.com. I go to certain websites like Body Slam, NoDQ, just to see if I can get some better information that is a little more seasoned. Because a lot of times people just want to report immediately. Sometimes it's better to wait a little bit before you do your report. And I was going to check up on what I thought about happened with Britt Baker, and I forgot the woman's name. The Fistio, I believe her name. I'm probably wrong. I don't remember. It's been a while. I wasn't going to do that one. I was going to do the Vince McMahon one. In other words, about him having the spinal surgery that he's gotten subpoenaed, I believe, or indicted. I don't remember right now. That's the reason I was going to look. But as I was looking, this showed up. And the moment I looked at it, I said, what the blue fuck? Last year, when this came out, when he decided he was going to have one last match, Ric Flair tried to make it that he wanted to go out with a bang. He was exercising. He getting the guns back. He looked good for his age, and he was 73 at the time. He's 74 now. What, is he 74? I think he's 74 right now. I don't know if he's hit 75, but he's 74 right now. But last year when he was 73, and after having this problem where he almost died, we're going like, is this the wisest thing for him to do? Should he do this? And then we had the match. And then we saw how bad it was. And then we found out later that he had a problem with one of his feet. That's what was talked about, why he didn't move around so well in the ring. But there was something else that wasn't spoken about, that he stated, and I don't know if I'll leave the connection to the article and the video that was there, because I haven't seen the full video. I didn't need to see the video. What I needed to know, what was in that article. And he said it himself after being interviewed, that during his last match, when he seemed to really look like he was having problems, and he hit the mat, and people thought maybe he's having a heart attack because he got lightheaded during the match. That's what he said in the article. I'm not saying word for word. I'm just saying what generally was in the article. That he said he started getting lightheaded. He was down on the mat, and they all started getting worried about him having a heart attack. So they kept doing the match, and they were monitoring him. But during it, as I said in my video, he fucking fell asleep on the apron. And it was Andrade, who was the one who gave him the brass knucks, who was trying to wake him up to do his spot, to hit Jay Lethal in the jaw. No, it was not Jay Lethal. It was Jeff Jarrett, I believe. To hit him in the face with some brass knucks. And I knew when I saw that video, when I saw Rick being shaken by Andrade, he said, you got to get up. Sir, you got to get up. You can almost hear him say those words. And I'm going like, oh, that admittance was the most stupidest admittance I think Ric Flair has made. Now, being honest is not a bad thing for pro wrestlers. Let's make it clear. It's not bad. I'm glad that he was willing to admit it. But let's make this clear. This wasn't like it was 2008 with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, where Shawn's saying, I'm sorry, I love you. That was when he should have just fully retired instead of going on the independent circuit and going back to Impact Wrestling. I think he did a short stint in Impact Wrestling. Could be wrong. It's been so long. But when he was in his 50s, he should have packed it in there, but he did not. He kept wrestling for at least another 3 or 4 years after he left WWE easily. Then he stopped. That should have been the end of it. But he wanted to do this one more time. He wanted to get in the ring one more time with people he knew that could watch out for him and protect him. And his son-in-law was there with him. That meant a lot to him. I can understand why. But this admittance to going into that match, and it was, if it's true about his foot, he had a problem with his foot and he just couldn't move around the ring. That could be understood. that can be weighed because, look, Rick almost died a couple of years ago easily. And with the pandemic, it's been more harder on people. And you can get an injury. Well, he's older. That's easier to get that type of injury. It's fine. But why did you say that? Rick did not need to open his damn mouth and say that I was on the mat and I felt lightheaded and I fell the fuck asleep. And then I had to be woken up. Why didn't you just go to the grave with it? Why didn't you write it in a memoir? Why did you do it on a fucking podcast that eventually, well, through interviews, you would eventually have that now, and it's barely a year after it happened? Guys, most people would say at this point, that is the most stupidest thing I've ever heard. Others would say, why are you jumping down on Rick's throat? Why? Why are you doing that? There's no point in it. It's over. If it was happening now, if this was last year and we found out a few days later, people would get mad. This is a year later. Why care? Well, you do care because they made such a big fuss about the damn thing. And then, months after that, when it went to Carlos Colon, remember? Carlos Colon had his moment with Rick. Doesn't mean that this is going to happen between Rick and Carlos Colon. But what happened if it did? What happened next year or at the end of this year? Carlos Colon, Carlito, and Primo, their dad, have a match with Ric Flair in Puerto Rico. Do you actually believe when this is released that you're actually going to think, oh, they're going to have a great match, or we're going to have two damn old men that are going to snooze in the damn ring? That's what I mean. Because no matter what anybody says, as long as someone's still a wrestler and is alive and could still be in good shape, they may want to still wrestle. They may want to come back again. They may want to try. Rick is a prime example that any wrestler, even at that age, could do it. Look, Action Jackson, who works in NWA, who also worked in Impact Wrestling. The guy is older than Rick, or at least as old as Rick. I can't remember how many 70s he is, 75? 76 or 75? I don't remember. You guys can leave me below. Like someone on my Dynamite review reminded me that RVD at this time is 52, my age. I don't know if he's about to turn 53. I don't know if he just turned 52, but he is basically my age. I didn't remember how old he was. It's been so long since I've seen him. And after his documentary talking about how he was in the business, how things went south when he smoked a joint in WWE, and how he started drinking and he was just a mess, and then he met the woman that he's in love with now that he married. And it's hard not to go, why the blue fuck did you do that? Sometimes you can be your own worst enemy. Particularly, yes, Rick is 74 right now. I don't know if he's about to turn 75 or he just turned 74. Doesn't matter. What happened if he gets back in the ring? He says no now, but what happened if he does decide this year or next year to do that match with Carlos Colon when he went to Puerto Rico and he got hit in the face with him? What happened if they're working it out right now? What happened if Carlos is like, I'm not really into it, but then Rick convinces him to do it? And this has been released. It will eventually come back, particularly before the match happens. I wish he'd just either not ever talk about it or put it in a book well after now, and like when he turned 75 or 76 or 77, if he's even just turned 74 now, or he's about to turn 75. I wish he would wait until next year and then say it. It's too early. It's only been a year since he had that damn match, and it's dumb. What the blue fuck? You're telling me that this guy who hyped it up so much that he was exercising, working his ass off, doing all this, yeah, he had a problem with one of his feet. But then, where he wasn't even doing that much in the ring as it was, gets lightheaded, lays down on the mat, and that! And Andrade had to try and wake his ass up. And he says in his own words in the article, you got to wake up, sir. Andrade shows so much respect to Rick, even though that's his father-in-law. He called him sir. Andrade had to bust his ass to try and help them make that match look good. And he fucking falls asleep. Motherfucker. Oh, I don't know what else to say. I'm done. I hope you. I'm just discombobulated to know that that motherfucker fell asleep. And the worst thing is not that he fell asleep at the ring, not that his spot looked terrible, not that he even did the damn thing. He's stupid enough to say it 1 year later, where after he messed with Carlos Colon in Puerto Rico. 1 year later, barely even a year. Maybe a year and a couple. I don't even remember when they had the match. Was it right around this time? Was it a few months from now? Like if it was 1 year? I don't even remember. I don't remember. Peace.